Hello everyone, it's Ryan1940 here, and today we are taking a look at Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. We'll be doing a short passenger flight using the freeware app NeoFly. Now NeoFly is an economy type app which allows you to build income from passenger and cargo flights. Today we're operating out of Orbx's Great Hollywood Burbank Airport scenery. The ICAO code is KBUR, and we'll be flying our passengers to Catalina Airport, code KAVX, also by Orbx. Now, Hollywood Burbank Airport is also known as Bob Hope Airport and serves a number of communities in Los Angeles County. It's actually closer to downtown Los Angeles than LAX. Looking around at the terminals, you'll notice this airport does not use jetways. Instead, boarding is done by portable stairs. For us today in our little caravan, that won't matter. We're getting started over here on the west end of the field, and we'll be boarding our passengers for departure. Today we're using the default caravan, but with NeoFly you can configure it easily to accommodate all the aircraft in your hangar. You can add payware and freeware aircraft within the app by defining a few stats like max fuel, the number of engines, max payload, max takeoff weight, empty weight, number of passengers, cruise speed, qualification level, and range. All that stuff sounds like it's a lot, but it really isn't. It's just super simple to add aircraft into it, which I really enjoy. Now you can take out loans to purchase aircraft and hire pilots who are then able to carry out flights of their own that generate income for your business. It's a lot of fun when you get into it if you enjoy the economy side of things in flight simulators. Now going back many years to the early days in FSX, I really enjoyed a program called FsPassengers. And that was a simple program that just added flights and generating income off of these flights. But eventually I found Air Hauler and I really fell in love with it. I use it a lot for FSX and X-Plane, so an app like NeoFly is right up my alley for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020.
Burbank Airport information call 01000. Wind 13.
Now you would have heard the noises of passengers boarding and then the dispatcher telling us all the passengers are loaded. This is obviously being generated by NeoFly. The sounds are contextual, which is great, so you'll hear freight being loaded for cargo flights making different noises versus if you were instead doing a passenger flight. What's super cool is you'll definitely hear it when you've got some fragile cargo and touch down perhaps a little too hard. You'll also be prompted by the dispatcher with instructions for certain types of special flights. I mainly use it for passenger and cargo delivery, but there are a plethora of types of missions you can try. In NeoFly, there are missions for transporting illicit cargo, where maybe you have to fly under a certain altitude the entire time. You have search and rescue missions, which are great if you have helicopters and short-field aircraft or float planes. You have missions for delivering skydivers or fighting wildfires, and even doing advertisements while flying banners around certain waypoints. I think when helicopters are officially added into the sim later in the fall and more payware options become available, I'll probably get into flying more SAR-type missions with them. In the meantime though, I've been sticking to the vanilla packs and cargo gameplay. Now, we've got our clearance to take off from runway 15 and we will start our run out to the south, then begin tracking southwest. It's a beautiful evening in the sim. I'm using real-world weather and real time. Most of my flying, if I could squeeze in a flight, is done after work, so a lot of it occurs right before sunset, and it's amazing. The visuals of this time of day in Southern California in the game just always blow me away. I'm from Southern California, so I naturally gravitate to flying around this area in NeoFly. Also, a majority of my payware sceneries are of Southern California airports. The area is just a lot of fun to fly around in small GA aircraft, and even the larger airports like John Wayne in Orange County or Lindbergh Airport down in San Diego make for great airliner destinations as well. Speaking of airliners, you probably noticed that default Asobo generic airliner taxiing past us on the left during our takeoff roll, but you also probably noticed regular traffic as well. In this video, I think it's my first ever using the AIG freeware traffic. I was experimenting with using it in the online traffic mode, but you can see some irregularities that pop up when using it this way. The biggest immersion killer for me is the ground aircraft traffic populating the terminals is somewhat filled by random aircraft. So for example, you can see European short-haul carriers parked at American airports. This just doesn't look right. Since recording this, I've opted to just use AIG in its offline mode with the downloaded routes. I'm hoping in the future we can have a seamless way to use it with online traffic and still have our airports look good with the right airliners parked at them. But enough about that. We're flying over the 405 and off in the distance you can probably make out Van Nuys Airport, which is one by Orbx that I've picked up, and immediately below us is the eastern edge of the Santa Monica Mountains. We'll skirt past these mountains and continue on our way to the coast. We'll end up going feet wet west of Santa Monica near around the Pacific Palisades area. But for now, we can enjoy the gorgeous sun setting over the Pacific Ocean. Off in the distance there, you can see Malibu and Point Dume coming up on the left side of the view. We're now heading into the overwater portion of our flight. In the distance there, you can see Santa Monica and the famous Santa Monica Pier. Immediately below us is Topanga Beach, and the road following the coast is the famous Pacific Coast Highway. This highway is unique in California for being the longest within the state, spanning 656 miles, mostly along the coastline. It's only second to Highway 200 in Montana for being the longest state highway in the United States. One of the reasons why I chose to film this flight over the water to Catalina was to show what it looks like in the sim with another add-on that I've purchased. The add-on is called Vessels Global Shipping by Seafront Simulations. It adds real-world shipping from routes generated by real AIS data. For those that don't know, AIS is just an automatic identification system. Ships can broadcast on AIS and allows everybody else to see what they're doing, their speed, their heading, and stuff like that. And this helps people avoid running into each other at sea. Now, this global shipping add-on increases the traffic between major ports and noticeably adds more to busy shipping areas like Long Beach, California. Now, on our way towards Catalina Island, we should pass over and fly along the San Pedro Channel, which is a waterway used coming in and out of the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. I'm hoping we'll be able to see more cargo ships coming and going. In real life, I have a job that requires I go out to sea from time to time, and many years ago I was in the Navy and sailed all around the world. So to me, the simulated flight sim world noticeably feels empty when I've seen with my own eyes just how many ships can be crowded in a major waterway. It's something that detracts from my immersion when ships aren't present. Speaking of my Navy time, I once was stationed on a destroyer out of Pearl Harbor for a few years, and a few months ago, Seafront Simulations have shown on their Facebook page that their next regional product will be Hawaii. I'm very excited about that because from what I've seen, it looks like they'll add correct military ship models to Pearl Harbor, and they'll also add US Navy traffic around Hawaii as well. This will go along with regular civilian maritime traffic that they'll add. And that's one thing I really want for Southern California, the US Navy ship traffic. There isn't a day you can drive up the Southern California coast and not see at least one US Navy ship doing something. Off Camp Pendleton, you're more than likely going to see some sort of amphibious ship doing training landing Marines. And closer to San Diego, you'll see US Navy ships coming and going from the multiple naval bases in San Diego. So off the left wing there, you can see the lights from LAX, and throughout the channel on our journey to Catalina, there are sporadic cargo ships coming and going. Now this might look sparse to some, but if you look at real AIS data, this is fairly realistic. If you don't believe me, you can always see for yourself and go on a website called marinetraffic.com. If you can imagine something like a FlightAware website, but for ships, this is it. You can see all the ships broadcasting on AIS, and it'll tell you for many of them where they came from, where they're going, what their status is, what their speed is, and their course. It's all very cool stuff and completely free. We are quickly approaching Catalina now, and this is one by Orbx that I picked up a while ago. Since I've recorded this, there has been a world update for the US which added a bespoke airport at Catalina. I've seen it, but I still prefer the Orbx version. This add-on uses 30cm ortho coverage in areas around the airport and the Avalon Harbor area. It adds different points of interest around the island like beaches, harbors, and custom real-world buildings. I've owned this scenery in other flight sims, but it truly shines in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020's engine. So in real life, I think this airport closes around 7 p.m. in the summertime for landings, and we're a little late with it almost being 7:40 p.m. But oh well, the sunset made the flight great, and you can see on final approach here the unique curvature of the runway. The gradient is so extreme that aircraft are unable to see other aircraft on the other end of the runway, so it's imperative to announce on Unicom taking the active runway prior to departure. I was just looking over some of the airport notes for this airport, and in real life, the final 2,300 feet of runway is a steep 2.1 downslope for runway 4. The notes on airnav.com say runway 22 is actually the preferred landing runway because of the upslope, and I certainly felt that on landing. I'll have to keep that in mind the next trip out to Catalina. We're coming up to the end of the runway, and we're going to taxi off into the darkness here. I could see why they would want to close off landings by 7 p.m. At least with it being dark, we can get a look at the airport scenery and see some of the night lighting that comes with it. Catalina Airport is known as the airport in the sky, as you see the sign proudly displaying there on the airport administration building. The runway was built during World War II, but the administration building wasn't completed until after World War II. And though privately owned, the airport is open for public use with a $35 landing fee. There is currently no regularly scheduled passenger service to the island. That's probably why we're dropping off some passengers here in NeoFly. All in all, it was a great sunset flight between a couple of nice sceneries. I'm looking forward to making more content again for the channel. I got back from a long multi-month business trip, and it really ate into my sim time, as you can imagine. I was very happy to catch the tail end of that big summertime sale when there were over 700 items at discount. Needless to say, I spent some of my hard-earned overtime money on some sceneries, and of course, I had to pick up the incredible deal that is the 737-600 by PMDG for only $35. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Bye.